Hi there, welcome to the Founder's Journey. And here we believe that founders don't just arrive, they evolve. They don't suddenly just show up as successful founders. No, they've had years of evolving to bring them to that particular place. So today we're going to be talking about starting with what you have in your hand right now. All right, thank you so much for joining me today. Let's get into this. One of the worst questions someone can ask who wants to start a business is, what am I missing? Instead, they should be asking, what do I have? Because if you ask, what are you missing? Then things like more money is going to come up in your mind. I need more money. I need more qualifications. I don't have enough contacts, so I need more. I need more confidence. I don't have enough confidence. I need more confidence, because you already started the questions the wrong way by asking, what am I missing before I can start a business? In fact, people teach along those lines. They tell you should consider all the things you don't have so that you can have them first before you start your business. That's just a complete nonsense. It's a complete waste of time, because nobody has perfect conditions before they start. What I teach you is this. Think about, what skills do I have? Think about, what experiences do I possess right now? Think about what relationships you have right now. Think about what knowledge you have gained over the years. Think about the resources that you have right now that you can transition with into running a business. That's how you should be thinking. Skills, experience, relationships, knowledge, and resources. If you look at the Bible pattern, for example, you see that Moses had a staff. When he parted the Red Sea, David brought down Goliath with 5 stones and just a sling. And the widow had a little oil, which she then multiplied by God's power, that became a business. Think about the boy with 5 loaves and 2 fish, how those 5 loaves and 2 fish fed thousands of people. And think that Peter had a boat that then became the launch pad to a successful future. So now, when you look at these examples, you come to understand that nobody has perfect conditions before they step out. So the idea is not about having all the resources you need to start your business. The idea is to be resourceful. And there's a difference. When you talk about resources, that means you have capital, you have connections, you have all the credibility you need, you have all the, you have all the physical products or physical resources that you need. But the ability to be resourceful is actually an invisible type of character trait, okay? It's about thinking, how can I make something extraordinary from what I have? Your resourcefulness is rare. It's a rare skill that you need to develop. It's a skill, it's a mindset, and it is the true competitive advantage of the adaptive founder. And that's who you are. You are an adaptive founder when you start thinking along these lines. Looking at, what do I have? Look, when we started our grant funding business, we didn't have everything perfect. We didn't have any money. In fact, we started with that money. We just said, okay, you know what we'll do? We'll call somebody that we know. We say to them, all right, if you pay us a small amount of money, initial fee, then we'll raise this money for you. And when we raise this money for you, you give us 10% of what we raise. And if we do a good job and you really like it, then you refer us to 3 or more clients. That's how we build the business. In 1 year, we turned over nearly over £100,000. Why? Because we just went with what we had. We were not waiting until we had an office. We had no website, no office, I was using my personal phone, none of this, no business card, no flyers, nothing. Just call people that you know, because that's what we had and that's what we used. If you go back to the example I gave in my previous video, and I suggest you watch that if you haven't, I talked about a school owner who wanted to, or a founder who wanted to start a school. And she was focused on, I need a physical building, I need capital, I need equipment. And I was trying to get her to think about the assets she already possessed. She already has years of teaching. She already had deep credibility in the community. She already had trusted relationships. And all she needed to do was to leverage those, was to use those to bring about the space she needed, the money she needed, because she could have asked those parents to pay a deposit, just like we did, and then use that deposit to get the building and not the other way around. This is the way that you think as an adaptive person. Let me tell you something. There's certain assets you possess, and I'm going to recap on what those are. Maybe you have a network of people that you can talk to. Maybe you have a particular type of knowledge that is relevant in your domain. Maybe you have experience, 10, 25, 2 years of experience. You have a reputation in certain quarters, or you build some relationships over time. These are even more valuable than money. Believe it or not. Let me say that again. These are even more valuable than money because they can produce the money that you need. It's actually what I call the explorer's superpower. The explorer superpower is what you have, thinking about what you have, and then thinking of what other people overlook. Because as you evolve in the founder stage, one of the things that happens to you is that you begin to become more resourceful because of how you look at the assets that you possess. And you can act before the conditions are perfect. It's one of the skills you develop as you go along. And you can build your muscle through practice. Muscle doesn't get built because you're looking at the gym equipment or because you're waiting until you feel like it before you start lifting the smallest amount of weight. No, it becomes full. Your muscles get bigger as you use it through the practice of working out on a regular basis. Now, sometimes we look at small beginnings as nothing, but actually, small beginnings are probably the seed to greater things. Small beginnings. Let me tell you something. When Richard Branson started his magazine, who would have thought it was going to segue into airlines? Now, look, he started the magazines. He used the customers' advertising revenue to promote the magazine. Then he discovered that, hey, those who like the magazines, they also want to buy music, but they're complaining that the prices are too high. So he figured out a way to get music for as cheap as possible and sell it to the customers of the magazine directly. So he started, or you might like, direct mail business. So that worked. And then he thought, hang on, let's open a record shop. So he opened a record shop so that people can come and actually buy those cheap records there. So that worked. Then he said, oh, okay, let's sign artists who are going to create our own records for us. So he opened up a studio and then he equipped the studio. People came and started recording. Then he stumbled across a record that changed his whole career. So the Tubular Bells by Bruce Oldfield sold in the millions. He used that money into airlines. See, he started with that magazine. That magazine is what made him money to become who he was today. It was a small beginning. And sometimes we look at one conversation as nothing. No, it's huge, because that's what validates your idea. Or you look at one customer as nothing. No, that's what proves that what you have, people are willing to pay for it. You look at your skill and you say it's nothing. No, but it's been proven. If somebody is prepared to pay for your skill, then they really value that skill. Or you look at the relationship that enabled you to have that one conversation and you think it's nothing. No, it's what you can use to unlock other doors like capital and also more opportunities. So you see, one thing at a time is not a weakness. One thing at a time is actually a good thing, because small beginnings are good things. They're not weaknesses. They are actually strengths. All right. So now, again, I want to remind you, founders don't suddenly arrive. You will have seen by now that founders evolve. And I want you to start thinking, if you're at the explorer stage, the beginning stage of your business, start thinking about not what do I need to start my business? Start thinking about what do I already possess that will help me to start my business, because that will change the way your business model will work. And if you've not watched my video on the business model, please go take a look at it. On this platform, you'll find one on the business model. Watch it. Let it change your mind. Let it indoctrinate you into a better way of thinking. Again, founders don't suddenly arrive. They evolve. I'll see you in the next video. God bless you. If you want to collect my assessment tool that helps you to determine where you are in the founder's journey, then look in the description box below and you'll find the tool there. Click on it, and on the thank you page, it gives you access to a free tool that teaches you how to use it.